Hello sleepyheads! Today I'm going to show you my X-Men card collection at long last. I've been meaning to make this video for a long time. I opted to do it in the lo-fi style because I recently put out a longer lo-fi video, a longer video in that format, and a lot of you seemed to really like it. And I think this style, this lo-fi style, lends itself well to a video like this because, you know, it's a show and tell, it's very object-based. So it also makes things a lot easier for me from an editing standpoint when I'm just stringing together these already fully formed little clips. And yeah, makes things easier for me. So hopefully it's a win-win. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I just want to first name that my card collection is not well organized. I recently purchased a bunch of new cards and I'm going to need to overhaul the entire system. I have collections in their proper order, but from there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. So we're just gonna have to jump right in. So yes, these are my new cards. Let me get them laid out nicely. Sorry, I had to take a moment to put on leggings because somewhere in here there's a mosquito and I just could not stand by while they bit up my legs and feet. So right now I'm living in terror. I can hear like the old pipes in this building. I think a neighbor is running the faucet, but that tinny sound through the ceiling almost sounds like the buzz of a mosquito. So definitely have my hackles up. So again, here are some of my most recent purchases. If you watched my Unintentional style ASMR video, the first in the series, then you may recognize these. This is Silver Sable. And then here we have Chimera. I think that's how you pronounce it, if it's pronounced the same way as the word spelled Chimera, which is a creature from Greek mythology with the head of a lion, and it's part goat, part serpent. This is White Queen, aka Emma Frost. This is a cool special edition. I think it's from one of the comic books, but it's just a frame of the wedding of Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Psylocke. I really like these here on the bottom. I've got Phoenix, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler. So these two are from the same collection. This one was the most expensive purchase of this lot. These really vintage Wolverines are pretty popular. And in terms of why I buy single cards, it really comes down to just liking the look, or maybe they're a character I like to collect. I love to collect White Queen and Psylocke. And this I just thought was a cool moment, you know, what a major moment in the canon. And for those who don't know, famously, White Queen and Scott Summers have an affair psychically because, you know, she has psychic abilities, as does Jean Grey, you know. Telepathy and telekinesis. So she walks in on Scott and White Queen having an affair in Scott's head, you know, like projected into his head. I mean, if you're both aware it's happening, even if it's just happening in the mind, isn't it still kind of happening, you know? Like you're both experiencing it, it's mutual, it's a secret you have together, and you're deriving pleasure from it. I mean, it's definitely emotional cheating. And I would argue that it checks the boxes for physical cheating too. I mean, that's really getting out of something on a technicality, you know. So when I do buy an entire collection, or at least, you know, in this case I don't have the entire collection, but I bought a good few cards from it, that's because I really like the illustration style, you know, something about it. In this case, I think I just picked, it was expensive to get the whole collection, so I just picked a lot that comprised some of my favorite cards, my favorite characters to collect, as well as just cards that I liked the look of as one-offs, because sometimes you won't love a depiction of a favorite character to collect, you know. There have been Psylocks, to which I'm not partial, have been iterations of Psylocke that I haven't really wanted. Oh wait, actually what am I doing? Let's take a closer look, because I did actually want all these cards. So I'm switching up the filter just because, just for added visual interest now that you've seen the true colors. So these cards are all from the Impel 1991 series. You know, like, I don't really know which cards are from Series 1, which are from Series 2. I assume that I have a mix of both at this point. But yeah, when I say Impel, Skybox, what else? Fleer. I'm just saying names of different brands, so to speak, of the Marvel trading cards. And I just want to say, before anyone asks, these are effectively worthless. They're just for sentimental value, but like, this is one of the first full series they put out. So yeah, and that goes for all these cards, you know, like sometimes you'll come across a set, like a full set, that costs like $100 or $200 to buy outright. But, you know, that's kind of as expensive as things get, unless you're hunting for a very specific card, maybe a holographic one. But yeah, it's not something I think like, oh, I'm gonna collect these because they'll be worth something someday. No, someday has come and gone. These are from 1991. So yeah, they're vintage, but again, so many were produced. There's not really a supply issue. This one, by the way, is also from this 1991 Impel series. So yeah, you can buy a lot of these outright. The reason at this point I like to just buy a few cards at once, it's more for the fun of collecting for me. Like, I could at some point just buy everything and be done with it. You know, it is finite. But for me, that takes away from some of the fun of it as a hobby. And I just like to buy like a $2 card here and a $2 card there, a $5 card here, you know, things like that at this point, because I do have the bulk of what I want at this point. I don't know, I feel like it would take away for me, like when people count cards, it's kind of like, I don't know, the fun is over. It's kind of how I felt as a kid if I figured out, I don't know, how to get around a neighborhood or the floor plan to an IKEA even. I remember one time I was trying to open a vintage lock with a vintage key that my parents bought me at some historical juncture, some, you know, like ghost town or some gift shop at a mine or something. They had these old locks and keys and I just couldn't figure it out, so I was fiddling with it in the back seat of the rental car for like 3 hours. And once I figured it out, it just wasn't fun anymore, you know? I kind of like being Alice in Wonderland. I like being a little lost. And I don't really want to know, like, which cards belong to which series. It's not really about that for me. I like the feeling of infinity that comes along with not quite knowing, you know, endless possibilities. I mean, I should clarify, I can go in the other direction and I can really want all the cards to be alphabetical in the proper order, you know, but then I can get very hapless, very devil-may-care. So yeah, I want to know until I don't, and I don't want to know until I do. I guess what I would say is even my intense bouts of organization are very whim-based. You know, like, I want them that way. And then, likewise, when I can't be bothered or I don't care, I just don't want things that way. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like I'm being confusing. Okay, let's get back into it. I've been getting off track. Okay, so I'm sure you're getting this impression already, but my favorite cards are now at the top of the deck, if that makes sense. Like, I know this is a group and I wanted to keep them together, but, you know, I'm newly enamored with these as a group, so they're near the top. And then on this page, individual cards that I absolutely love, most of which are, again, newer, and I saw them and I had to have them. Actually, they're all newer. So, yeah, this is just its own little one-off page of cards I really like right now, and some of these cards are going to end up on this page. You can probably guess which ones. The ones down here for sure. Just wanted to clarify because I know a lot of the time the odds and ends, you know, the incomplete pages, end up near the back of a collection. But for me, you know, the cream rises to the top. And then when you get back just a few pages, you start to see my collection as it's existed for a few years now, and it's a little better organized. But this top section is a work in progress as I arrange my trophy case, so to speak. Not trophy case, that analogy doesn't work because I didn't do anything to merit these cards. I just clicked a button on eBay. A common tale. Okay, so here we have Phoenix again. How great would this Phoenix look alongside this one? I do like to collect Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey. I didn't say I was going to be breaking ground with this collection. I like what a lot of X-Men fans tend to like. I like the characters that are the most popular, the most beloved. So yes, I love to collect Storm. I think that Aurora Monroe is depicted so beautifully, like across the collections. I think without fail, there's something really dynamic, just the lines, how she's known to move, and yeah, her physicality as represented throughout different artistic renderings, I just really adore. There's a sharpness and something kinetic, you know, not to be making science jokes, but there's at once something so grounded about how Storm is depicted, you know? So poised and yet so chaotic. So controlled and out of control at the same time, you know. It's all very apt because obviously she is often represented with lightning. So there's something very sharp, very linear about lightning, but also very scattered, very fractious. That's not quite the right word, but you know what I mean. So I love how Storm is depicted, and it's great because, you know, there are common themes. Artists can diverge, but there are definitely some core attributes with which Storm is unfailingly represented. You know, something about her, she seems to have really crystallized in everyone's minds. So we all have a shared vision of Storm, and the artists seem to all agree. And, you know, this could sometimes be the same artists, but like even in later collections when some things are changed up and modernized, something about her. Some of the same fantastic things are thematically always at play with her. And I feel that way about Psylocke a lot of the time too. Like, Oops, someone really wants to make sure their car is locked. This is going to sound weird, but Psylocke's thigh, something about the way her thigh is always depicted, like, I don't know, strong thighs abound in these illustrations, but Psylocke in particular, you'll see there's something about her outer thigh. Leading with her thigh, if that makes sense. Now, I will say a lot of the women are shown as having very developed muscular thighs, but that's not what I'm saying. Like, that wouldn't be so interesting because they're all superheroes with totally improbable muscle content. But her thighs, this is so weird, I'm talking about her thighs so much, but I've always noticed that they are like big and rounded and softer looking, there's not as much muscle etched in. And I always thought that was so interesting because it became, I don't know, kind of part of Psylocke's character, her physical character, that is. Yeah. Strange, I know, but just something I noticed, and maybe you'll notice it. I hope none of this is triggering to anyone talking about bodies in this way. I'm just, I think bodies are beautiful, and I especially always thought that illustrations of women were beautiful. But I will say, for me, it's not, I never wanted to emulate these characters in terms of their improbable bodies. My siblings both are super into working out and trying to have superhero abilities, standing on their hands, walking on their hands, lifting things and putting them down. Super strong, super buff, and it somehow wasn't part of my standard of beauty. If there were ways that I would excoriate myself, which there certainly were, it wasn't really in those categories. I didn't really care about being super fit, super buff, anything like that. But I do want to say that if these depictions and my discussion of them are potentially upsetting to you, please just do yourself a kindness and click out. I don't want to cause any harm just talking about absurdly buff illustrations of fictitious superhumans, mutants. I love this. I don't know, the vintage look of this looks almost like an Archie comic, you know what I mean? Like, can you picture that being Reggie being mad about something or being vindicated and getting a super over dramatic frame? Like, sometimes they'll throw them in and you'll be like, that's randomly intense. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's just Archie having a good time and then Reggie's over there having a totally diabolical moment. Okay, we've been on this page for a long time, but that's okay. It's one of my favorite pages. Gosh, I love Storm so much. I could just look at these all day. And this also may be one of my favorite cards. Okay, so this page is kind of second tier, like I think probably Silver Sable and let's see, and Chimera will go on this page. And as I process my new purchases, this page will probably make its way down the deck as the thrill wears off. But yeah, I don't like these illustration styles as much. I kind of bought them because, why not? Like, I don't like this depiction of Storm as much. It's just too, I don't know, 80s-tastic. I have no idea. There's something about it. Let's see what year. Yeah, it's just too busy, too feathered. I don't know, something about her face. It's like the uncanny valley territory, you know what I mean? Like, almost photographic, looks more like a real person, whereas these really do look like cartoon characters. And there's something a little grotesque about it, to me, if that makes sense. And this is just ridiculous. Like, my goodness, how did the 80s end up more present in these 1992 Skybox cards than in the 1991 Impels? So bizarre. Now, that said, I do really like this depiction of Psylocke. I don't know, there's something, like especially in her chest, there's something about it that's a little bizarre, like something you'd see on Nickelodeon. Of course, not this actual content. I'm talking purely about the lines, not about the level of boob. But, yeah, doesn't that look like it's kind of out of place with the rest of the drawing? Like, I think her chest is a little much in that card, but I don't know. Other than that, I just love the lines of this card. I do quite like this Typhoid Mary card, a character with which I'm less familiar, even though I know the historical figure pretty well. I know of the historical figure, not like on a personal level, although leave it to her to still be hanging around. Anyway, how amazing is that top though, that bodice? Yeah, I guess it's more like a bustier. Yeah. And then we have Wolverine down here. This one's okay, kind of middle of the road for me. It's Pat Olaf. It's a Fleer card, okay? So what year though? 1994 Fleer. All right. Oh, this Psylocke, again, kind of uncanny valley. I'm a little weirded out by it. I don't know, but you see what I mean about her thigh? Okay. Ooh, White Queen too. Sometimes happens with White Queen as well. Although not that often. Like, to be honest, this card feels inspired a little bit by Psylocke. I felt it was time again for a filter change. So I do like to collect White Queen, aka Emma Frost. This one's interesting. I just liked that it was such a different illustration style. This is 2013. Wow. And it's by Fleer. So if you don't know, I'm not going to go through all the backs of cards, but different series will have different ways of utilizing the backs of cards, little facts about the characters, whether known as the White Queen or the Black Queen. And she worked for Norman Osborn. If you're wondering, you know, if you're new to the world of Marvel and you're coming to it by way of the MCU and you're surprised by all the crossover, there is crossover, you know, it's all Marvel, but at one point different studios had different rights. You know, Fox, I think, had the rights to X-Men. I don't know. Again, I haven't taken the time to become well informed. It's just a hobby. I'm not trying to be a maven of any kind. But yeah, there's a lot of crossover. It's pretty fun. Okay, so let's see. More Storm. I think I'm just going to do a Storm page. I think I need to rearrange things and have an homage to Aurora Monroe. Just a Storm section. Yeah, you can see the different illustration styles, but again, recurring visual themes. You see how scattered she is in this one? Like, her whole body is splayed out. But then the rest of the time she can be very fluid, very composed, linear, you know? There's something about this. You know, it's the same feeling I get from, like, the Bishop chess piece. There's something swift, decisive about it, you know? You think of it as a piece that strikes, if that makes sense. But there's also something really elegant and controlled I don't know, long, lean, brutal strokes. Okay, so lots of fun stuff happening in the middle here. Not as interesting to me. Some of these cards in these early pages, now that we're getting into territory, you know, cards I've had for a while, some of these are cards I got growing up, you know, I got as hand-me-downs from my older siblings, and there was also a kid on the street who was quite a bit older, like he went to college when I was just a little kid, and he wanted to be an illustrator for Marvel, and he was really good. We kids on the block all came to our shared X-Men obsession by way of our respective older siblings. So I had a little floppy pink folder of cards. It was only maybe like this many pages, but something happened to it. I don't know what, in a transitional family moment, and I never saw the cards again, and I was really sad. So I went to work trying to rebuild my collection and clearly overcorrected. Yeah. Definitely super nostalgic for me. So some of these cards I'm pretty sure were in my childhood collection. Like, I know this one was. And I'm not so sure about these three, but they certainly look like something from early memories. Okay, so again, another random page from when I was first rebuilding my collection and just buying cards here and there. I know this one was in my childhood collection. This is just, yeah, a random hodgepodge. Magic. Kind of looks like Silver Sable sometimes, but very different. Fan favorite. I mean, so many people like so many different characters, but you'll actually encounter a lot of die-hard Magic fans if you get into conversation with enough collectors. And I'm positive that this card was in my childhood collection because I just remember being like, am I allowed to look at this? Like, is this allowed? This feels like PG-13 stuff. Yeah. And then you probably remember Banshee from the newer X-Men movies. He was in First Class. Siren is his daughter. You can see allusions to the fact in her costume here. And also the name Siren, right? Like Siren, Banshee. Okay, now we are getting into my more complete collections. I mean, this page, I just have 9 of these blue cards. So it's a few pages that are less complete, and then we get into full decks. Okay, so working our way through. These are, again, Impel. I think Impel is probably my favorite card creator of the group, of the bunch. I had a lot of Fleers growing up, but I mean, Impels just look so classic always. I love just the motifs that they do. I mean, just having a unifying theme like these margins, you know, really adds something, gives everything a nice classic pulled together look. Everything's nice and cohesive, as opposed to, like, you know, having several of these cards side by side. It's a messier look, right? Like, sometimes layout is kept in mind, I suppose, if you have them all lined up, which I don't here, but yeah, nothing like what you see here. Okay, so I don't think I have a complete collection. I don't know why. Maybe I bought like one series but not the other, and I just bought like a smaller set, again comprising some cards I really wanted and saying to hell with the rest. I'm not sure. It's a mystery to me. I don't really know. It's been years now since I bought these. So some familiar faces. You can see Cyclops there, Gambit, I'm not really a fan of Gambit. I know a lot of people are. Not my style. Beast, love Beast. Bishop, Cable. Iceman, lots of people love Iceman. Rogue, of course. Look how big that moon is. I love it. And again, with the really ample thigh proportions. Like, look at her lower leg compared to her upper leg. Totally unrealistic in the direction that we don't see as often. I just think it's interesting. I don't know. Oh, you know what? Now I remember. So I think I did eventually complete these sets, but in order to do so, I just had to buy whole new sets outright. So I kept these because obviously I first bought smaller subsets that had some of my favorite cards, but then I went on to complete my collection. So according to my system, where are the ones that I replaced the first, that were the most sentimental or interested me the most, are near the top. So are these. But you'll see these all again later because I do have these complete sets. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, apparently I really wanted Storm early on. I don't know if Widget came along. Like, I do like the kind of, I don't know, 80s futuristic tech looking collage. What's it called? That's what I was trying to think of. Decoupage. Kind of looks like, I don't know, like a decoupage that's inspired by like what you'd see under a microscope, or I don't know, even in a microchip. Do you know what I mean? There's something biological or technological in the artistic reference, like it's science splatter. I don't know though, like I can't imagine that I just bought Widget on its own. I don't know, sometimes you get a card along with another card, if that makes sense, you know? Like they're sold together. Who knows? Then we've got Gideon, Lady Deathstrike, and I 100% had Wolfsbane. I had this exact card growing up. So these two cards I bought, I didn't have them growing up. They're from 2015. Oh, and 1992. So interesting because there are some similarities, right? But they're very different styles. I think people have a lot of fun with Mystique. You know, like it goes with the territory, but there are some things that are always at play. You know, she's always very lithe and her coloring remains the same, but people like to play around. I think people get to play around a little more with how they depict her because, you know, she's a shapeshifter. Stands to reason. But she's fun to collect for that reason. So this is my full 1993 Skybox set. And now that I see them, I'm torn. Maybe these are my favorite as like a complete set. Again, there's just a lot of care put into the overall picture. You know, like a lot of space is given to the names, which is a choice. You know, like there's something cool about that, like a big marquee behind them because they are these larger than life characters, you know. And with X-Men, it's so much about, it's kind of like Pokemon in that it's a world of so many different characters. So choose your fighter kind of thing, much more so than you even see with, like, I don't know, the Avengers. But because X-Men goes beyond being about a team or an ensemble, and it's about a whole race of people, you know, a whole universe even. Yeah, I like when it's framed in such a way, like when there's that kind of cohesion, if that makes sense. And I don't use the word race lightly, but like something that's really cool in X-Men is they do talk about, you know, the the social aspect of, tension between humans based on constructs like race, and also just other ways that people are marginalized. It's a great analogy. So I know that a lot of LGBTQ people, X-Men holds some meaning to them. And X-Men does deal with, genocidal themes and just a discussion of the ways that people are cruel to one another based on our differences, which, I don't feel like is as much the antagonistic source in other superhero worlds, or even if they are part of the same universe. Just, I don't know, the stories that are explored, it can be about a megalomaniac who wants to destroy the world, or, have total dominion over everyone. It's not as much about tension between large groups of people, and identity, politics, being otherized, being marginalized. So it's interesting. And I know some people find it patronizing, this idea of our differences being superpowers. I think that they are first and foremost mutants, and some really cool analogous stuff follows from there. But if you aren't aware and you think I'm reaching, just so you know, I think X-Men first came out in 1963 and was directly inspired by the civil rights movement. So there's no way around that. So loving X-Men, you have to love its history, and the social commentary of it. I mean, you can choose to tune it out, but that's weird of you, It's weird of you. We live in such a contentious time on the internet that I'm pretty confident that I'll get at least a few comments the longer I leave this video up, where people are just infuriated that I acknowledge that X-Men, is inspired by the civil rights movement. I mean, if you want to leave me a comment, go ahead. I can handle it. But I ask that you use I feel language. So, I feel angry. I feel annoyed that you said that X-Men is inspired by the civil rights movement. I feel enraged by how wrong you are. But yeah, one of the many things that I love about X-Men. So, okay. So let's get into Skybox. Such a beautiful series. I love this card of Archangel. And let's see. Some of these really, I just don't know as well. Cerise. I think that's cherry in French. So let's see. It says, sorry, I'm charging my phone. Okay, friends with Nightcrawler. We don't know where she was born. Interesting. Can create virtually anything from red spectrum energy projections. Nature of power unknown. Super mysterious. Oh, so I don't know if you've noticed, but these are all Xavier's files. And these little extra images on the back will show the mutant in question in a different scenario. I remember finding out as a kid that red hair was a genetic mutation and being so excited. I was like, yes, I'm a mutant. I knew it. Can't wait for my other powers to come in. I say other, like growing red hair is a power. It's not, obviously, but yeah, wishful thinking as a kid. I mean, let's be honest. I still wish that. Okay. So yeah, let's see. It's a pretty cool card. I mean, when they're framed nicely like this, I'm more open to them playing around with framing and, scale, showing their different energies, their different personalities and powers by way of how they render them, like here Gambit is shooting directly at us, whereas Domino is shooting at someone kind of off to the side. So there's something much more confrontational, you know, about Gambit and his style. And then Jean Grey, all up in your business because she's literally in your head, you know. Okay, that's cool. I love the black dots. Such a cool choice for showing energy in a different way, that kind of inkiness. And then there's this green energy coming off Jean Grey. Usually she's depicted with just that kind of red you see in the background, that red gold. And then Jubilee down here with these multicolored wiggly spots. I don't even know, how cool is that? I love the different choices that the artist made in this series. Okay, let's see. Nightcrawler, such a good Nightcrawler card, aside from the fact that that is definitely 100% Ben Stiller. Phoenix, gorgeous card. And then Polaris again. One of the characters I had in my mind a lot growing up, just because I had that Polaris card, but I know so little about Polaris as a character. Used to be a much bigger character, much more at the forefront. Professor X. That's a pretty good rogue card. And the choice to just have her up in the sky with the birds behind her. Quicksilver. If you have a favorite card, please let me know. Super interested to hear. And they all do go together really nicely, like on this same page. You can see, I don't know, there's something happening thematically down here. It's just gorgeous. Sunspot, again, really cool use of that kind of inky effect. Strong guy. To the point. What an epithet, you know? Get right to it. They chose to show her with like a prop showing her ability, like she's auditioning or something. Like they don't need to show where Shatterstar is hitting, but they're like, no, show them, Siren, show them what you can do. May as well have some guy with his ears bleeding, popped eardrums. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, they're not showing like someone reducing a wall to rubble. Like it's focused on them and they're kind of exuding their power, but there's something really like granular, kind of petty about her being like, no, let me get the glass out, I can do it, I can show you. Not granular, maybe I mean more like pedestrian, right? Give her some respect, you know? I was rewatching the last clips just to make sure, and I was like, it's not like they're showing anyone reducing a wall to rubble, and then I was like, oh. But you know what I mean? Again, it's not focused on the wall, it's focused on Sunspot. Okay, so these are just cool because I'll come over here and show you. They all go together, like you have to lay them out correctly. So these are little face-offs. They're arch enemies. Nothing more intimate than an arch enemy. Have you ever gotten into a fight with a total stranger and then felt really grody afterwards? I think it's because fighting is actually super intimate, and being someone's sworn nemesis, that's taking things to the next level. So we've got Cable and Strife, Fitzroy, wow, what a name, Fitzroy, and Bishop, Archangel, and Apocalypse. Let's take a moment of silence for Oscar Isaac in that suit. Very much the Val Kilmer Batman problem. Okay. Then we have Storm and Mystique. So cool. Like that's a card I have separately on its own. You can break them up and have cards on their own. These are kind of little diptychs. And these are little triptychs. Kinda, sorta. Wolverine and Omega Red. That's a pretty cool illustration of Wolverine. And then again, we have Wolverine. He's just so busy. Everything falls on him, double booking him. Dance card is completely full. Wolverine and Sabretooth. And that's one we've actually gotten to see, right? Oh my gosh, when I would watch, when I was really little, I grew up with the Patrick Stewart, the first X-Men movie, right? And when he would talk about evolution leaping forward, chills. I would get major chills. How different would the world be today had Scott, is it Dougray or Dougrey, like Jeffrey? I think it's Dougray. Had Dougray Scott been Wolverine? I think he very nearly was, but had a scheduling conflict due to Mission Impossible 2. And the rest is history. Okay, Black Queen. We know Black Queen, right? Let's see. Celine. That's so interesting. Earlier, didn't it say that Black Queen was an alias, an alter ego of Emma Frost? Maybe that changed over time. Things do change a lot. Okay, so Black Queen has similar powers to White Queen, telekinesis and telepathy, but she's functionally immortal. Are you kidding me? She's the oldest known human mutant. Holy shit, you look great. Drop the skincare routine. So, let's see. Black Tom, the Brood, this weirdo, Braddock. Stay away, please. Okay, Blob. I just never liked Blob. I know some people are diehard Blob fans, but just not up my alley. Deadpool, again, because there's crossover, right? Deathbird, very cool. Love that card. So I apologize. My characterizations are getting lazier and lazier. Like, I like this one, I don't like this one. Super superficial. I do wish I could just ask mutants. Like, I could ask them questions like, what's your favorite pizza topping? Because, we know things about them, like, are they more fight or flight in their response to things? What are their childhood traumas? Under what circumstances were they spawned? Sometimes I just want to know, what do you like to do on a Friday night? What do you like to do on a Sunday morning? Who's your celebrity crush? I'm not going to ask you what comes out of your eyeballs when you're angry. I just want to know what's a silly phase you went through as a preteen. Yeah, I'm going to skip ahead just because I'm running low on time. Another White Queen depiction. Tolliver used to scare the crap out of me. I definitely had that card growing up because it's like a mildly traumatic visual memory, if you know what I mean. So this page is all about teams. So over here we have X-Force. You can see some familiar faces. Domino, Bishop. Is that you, Wolfsbane? Sometimes I confuse Wolfsbane and Megan, which makes no sense. Yeah. Oh, that's not Warpath, Thunderbird, I can't remember, but they're brothers, and that's why I get them confused. And then here we have X-Men Gold, some very popular, some iconic characters all on one team. Iceman is in the back there, and then of course, what am I talking about? I'm saying, of course, to a more obscure team. Yeah, I just checked the roster, and that's Warpath. Warpath always made me sad. I forget why. These are actually little frames from the animated TV series. Before my time, I think I've seen some. I've seen some episodes. I have vague memories, maybe my older siblings would put it on. I really don't know. Yeah. But how cool is that frame? I love that. Okay, this is so silly, but I had to get it because I definitely did have this series growing up. They're all at the beach. It's that illustration style that I don't like, that I find really goofy, but still, I mean, come on. That's hilarious. Rogue's building a sand castle. How cute are Jubilee and Professor X. Okay, and here's a random smattering from a Fleer Ultra series from, let's see, 1994. Don't love this illustration style, but I think I did have a few of these cards as well. Like Tapestry is familiar, and this Archangel is familiar. I do like this one more than the rest on this page. There's something just too diffuse, you know. I don't know. Change the filter to show you the colors a little more honestly. Yeah, I don't know. They kind of look like bad oil paintings, if that makes sense. I just prefer when they look, you know, that style when everything's kind of outlined in black and super sharp. I like that better. Speaking of which, here we are. Even if it's very thin, you know, even if the lines are very thin, I just need those lines in there. I need to see the kind of sketch underneath it all. Yeah, I love this. I love all the details. Like the scale of this allows for great detail as opposed to, I mean, someone who knows anything whatsoever about art could tell you exactly what I'm rambling about. I don't really know what I'm even saying, but someone else could explain it better. I took a lot of art history, but that's just because I enjoyed it, but I didn't keep up with it, so I probably haven't retained that much. Oh gosh, I just love these. These are, again, those Skybox cards. So I think this is the complete series. Let's take a look. Oh, such a good Jean Grey. So cool. And the scale isn't, it's what I usually don't like, but I just think it has lots of detail. I love how she's standing, you know, her posture in it. So interesting that they have this arm coming out back behind her. Like you can see how she's throwing her energy forward, but you see it at a pretty unique angle from a pretty unique, what's it called? Vantage point. Okay, let's see. I mean, all of these. Look at that one. So cool. They just knocked it out of the park with this series. I got my nails done today. They're a really nice peach, like a creamy peach color. I like them a lot. Side note. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, I was showing you Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler. That Psylocke card I love so much. My best friend's favorite character was Shadowcat for a long time. So I always think of them when I see Shadowcat. Rogue. Siren, another great Storm card. Redundant. Still amazing. Strong Guy. Hi again. Again with like a demonstration of his skill set. I'm strong. Can you imagine if they like had to do this, if they were contractually obligated to take these like promotional shots and they're like, oh, it's a little demoralizing that you're making me like sing and dance for you. Okay, let's see. Ooh, and some holographic cards. Not any of value, in case you were wondering, because I know I said that earlier, but really I don't know what I'm talking about. I know some cards. Some cards are more expensive, are more sought after, more limited. They weren't as mass produced, but still, again, there's a cap. And there's a really nice Wolverine card. There's that Widget again. Oop, bless you. And that Wolfsbane again. My neighbor sneezes very violently. Reminds me of my dad. Okay, Apocalypse. I'm just going to point out the ones I really like at this point. That's a cool Death Bird. She has some pretty cool cards. We've seen this Gideon before. That's a really cool Lady Deathstrike. I think we saw that earlier too, but just want to really call out all the colors. She's really popping off the page. And just the gnarly, I mean, look at those nails. The line of them, so cool. Here's one character with whom I'm not at all familiar, but I just love this card. Like all these noxious gases, these fumes behind him, and then whatever is going on here, it looks very arachnic. Is that a word? Let's pretend it's a word. Super arachnic. And then, of course, we know and love this Mystique card. Look at the skulls on her belt. So great. Magneto, looking very formidable. And these cards also let you know when a character was first introduced, when they first appeared, so you can see that he's been around since the beginning. Magneto never hesitates to use the most ruthless means to achieve his noble ends. We see that in a lot of really memorable villains, that kind of delusion, you know. Okay, so then over here, how cool is Saturnine? I mean, I just love that they explore so many different aesthetics. I had to move over here because my charger was not working, so I had to use a shorter cord. But yeah, gonna keep on moving along. Here's Repeat White Queen. How amazing are those boots? And that goblet. Here's Toad. It's so silly, but actually was a great addition to X-Men, you know, played by Ray Park, same actor who played Darth Maul. I thought he was really interesting and weird and funny in that, in his own way. I mean, obviously the villains in that, other than Rebecca Romaine and Sir Ian McKellen, were a little underdeveloped, but still fun. Okay, more team stuff. So there's White Queen and Black Queen, both in the Hellfire Club. Come on, I mean, give us Black Queen. She's immortal, for crying out loud. And here's some odds and ends. It's not complete once we get to allies. I think I'm missing some cards. Not sure though, maybe I just have them awkwardly set up. You know, maybe I could have them all together, and I don't remember. I need to start from scratch, get this all properly configured. I love this card. Just think it's gorgeous. Don't know anything about Roma. Okay, and then here, just again, odds and ends. Great magic card, great Dark Phoenix card. Sometimes you just get Phoenix and not Jean Grey that we know and love as Dark Phoenix. Know, love, and fear. I love the art in this series. I'm gonna say it over and over. And then, wow, 9-card tableau. So fun. Just a total melee. So these are Impel 1992. So the very next year after that collection I showed you in the beginning, they did something totally different and so cool because there's a very obvious motif, you know, kind of framing device, but each one is different. So cool. So a little less context, you know, a little more just about the figures themselves. Still just so cool, so creative. Like, you get little glimpses. Oops, there's a dog freaking out. Little car there. Gambit cannot be contained, right? Makes sense. And then we have some familiar Marvel faces. Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Phoenix again, Black Widow, Hulk and She-Hulk. I think it's so funny, all these different versions of heroes that feel kind of similar, you know, Captain Britain, Major Victory, Captain America. My best friend can tell me all about, you know, the overlaps and where they actually are different characters and where they're just different manifestations of, like, earlier and later manifestations of the same idea. I don't know. If you know, feel free to comment and explain a little bit, but I've heard it before. I just, again, I have retention issues when it comes to things like that. Okay, Daredevil. Very interesting Nightcrawler. Different than what we've seen before. Definitely playing up the surreal quality of Nightcrawler. Black Panther, Ant-Man. Punisher. Such a gorgeous Storm card again. I love that one so much. Like, look at all these crossovers. I guess they're not crossovers, it's all the same universe, but you know what I mean. Captain America. Nick Fury. Maybe I'll have my best friend come on and explain what they know. You know, that could be fun. Oh, look at the light on the wall. That's sweet. I remembered what made me sad about Warpath. His brother died. That made me really sad as a kid when I learned that. Polaris again. I wish I knew more about Polaris because she's really distinctive. When did she come on the scene? 1968. So she's of an older generation as well. Okay. Archangel is such a great Archangel card. Love that gorgeous symmetry. Like, that's something that you would see like on those plates you would make, you know, little rubbings off which you'd make those little rubbings. There's something about this card that just has that level of symmetry. I'm awestruck by it. I don't even know what I'm thinking. Some references, some things that just come up for us when we're really enjoying art. You know, they're hard to describe. It's just random images that come into our heads. I mean, that's what it means to be super evocative. I know it's silly to say these things about X-Men cards, but I don't know, I think they're gorgeous. I really do. I could just go through them for hours. I could just look and look and look. Iron Man. Great Rogue card. Silver Sable, Jean Grey. I love all these so much. Cyclops. Oh, I don't know this character, but very interesting card. And then we get into like famous team-ups. So, a lot of Spider-Man. Spider-Man's very affable, open to collaborations. I'm gonna skip through these, but super interesting. Ooh, Scarlet Witch and Vision. More than a team-up, you know what I'm saying? But that's super topical, very, very this year. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna keep skipping through. Let me know if I've missed anything. Feel free to call things out. Okay, and now we get into the supervillains after that brief foray into team-ups. Red Skull. That's a familiar face from the MCU. Venom, so cool. Apocalypse. Doctor Doom. Green Goblin, Magneto. I mean, these are all so good. Sauron. Is that a Tolkien reference or just a total coincidence? Mad Thinker. Watch out for him. He's like a mad thinker, you know. That card is super beautiful. Don't know Mephisto. White Queen. Ah, so gorgeous. It almost looks like a Mucha reference, if you know what I mean. Like Art Nouveau. So interesting. So different, but I think probably an allusion to her ability to project, you know, project into your mind so she can fill your brain with beautiful illusions, seduce you, manipulate you. Thanos. Sabretooth. Kingpin, who's the major villain in Into the Spider-Verse. So good. Hatemonger. Crossbones. Slapstick. So ridiculous. See, I mean, I know that's like a curveball. Like, it's fun to have things like that as well, but it's too silly for me. I don't know. Not a fan. But, I mean, look how angry everyone is with their pitchforks. He must be more sinister than he seems. Cerise again. Oh, these are rookies. Okay. So not necessarily villains, but like rookies. How long are you a rookie for? I'm joking because obviously these came out in 1992. Okay. Bishop. Bishop was a rookie. Living Tribunal. Collector. Oh, that was the Nascents. That was the origin of Strong Guy. Okay, I'm gonna skip forward a little. I don't want to run out of time. Origins. Okay, so cards depicting, like, again, Wolverine. We all know what happened to him at Lake Alkali. Okay, teams, once again. Sorry for the car alarm. Super annoying. Okay, I've waited for a few minutes, and oh, it just stopped. I was just about to say. Okay, so these are some iconic moments, some milestones, like the death of Gwen Stacy, the Dark Phoenix saga, Fall of Kingpin, Days of Future Past, Wedding of Spider-Man, and then some random extra cards. Captain America, Cyclops, Emma Frost. I love, again, collecting all iterations of Emma Frost. Cool Cyclops card. Wow, that's cool. I don't know if you can see. The flash kind of messes it up, but let me see if I can show you. Doesn't show up, doesn't read well. Kind of like light bouncing off a swimming pool. Okay, so actually these aren't duplicates, but these are just random one-offs, like a Captain America, Emma Frost. Love Emma Frost always. Really cool Cyclops card, a pretty different Gambit. These are all from Fleer 2015, doing a kind of retro style, but more recently, and they're really cool. Iron Man again, Magneto, Thor, that's different, Scarlet Witch, very different Storm. How different is that? I love it actually. I always love Storm and Wolverine. Okay, and then we have some random odds and ends, some repeats. These are definitely repeats. Repeat. Yeah, I think that's everything. That's the whole collection as of today. I wish I were more knowledgeable. I wish I could be a better tour guide through the world of X-Men, but I'm just enthusiastic. It's purely emotional / sentimental for me. Like, I love what I do know and what I do find interesting. You know, I investigate very avidly, but yeah, it doesn't go much deeper than that for me. Like, it goes very deep. Like, this is super emotional for me, but intellectually it doesn't go very deep, I should say, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna get this all tidied up. I would love to hear what you think. If there was a card that really stood out to you, that you really loved, if you have some information you'd like to share. You know, maybe you know a lot about X-Men, or about even just a particular character. I'd love to read whatever you'd like to share. Okay, so that's my collection in entirety up to this point. I hope you liked it, and I hope you get lots and lots and lots of good REM sleep. And as always, I hope all your dreams are sweet.